My wife cheated, claimed I didn't own her, and wanted an open marriage. So I filed for divorce. Life had a way of settling into patterns, some comforting, others mundane. I often woke before dawn, savoring the stillness before the rest of the house stirred. In those early hours, with only the soft hum of the fridge and the occasional creak of the floorboards for company, I felt most at ease. It was my time to reflect, to remember why I had chosen this life, with its moments of joy interspersed with the weight of responsibilities. Emma and I met in college, a whirlwind romance that felt too good to be true. She was all fire and determination, the kind of woman who made you feel like you could conquer anything with her at your side. We married young, and within a few years, Daniel and Lily came along. Our children were the heart of our world, bright, vivacious, and occasionally maddening in the way only teenagers could be. As the years passed, our family found its rhythm. Emma managed the logistics of our lives, ensuring birthdays were celebrated and dentist appointments weren't missed. Meanwhile, I found joy in the simpler things, fixing the leaky faucet, organizing Sunday barbecues, and being the constant presence my kids could rely on. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. Father's Day was one of those rare occasions when the spotlight turned to me. Emma and the kids made sure I felt special, even if the celebrations were modest. A homemade breakfast, a heartfelt card, and a few hours together. It was all I ever wanted. I never needed grand gestures. The love we shared was enough. Yet beneath the surface of our seemingly happy life, I started to notice subtle shifts. Emma worked later, smiled less, and seemed distant even when she was physically present. At the time, I dismissed these changes as the inevitable result of a busy life. In hindsight, those moments were signposts I chose to ignore, guiding me toward a truth I wasn't ready to face. Last year's Father's Day began in the same unremarkable way as every other. I rose early, quietly leaving the house to avoid waking Emma and the kids, who would undoubtedly sleep in. Mother's Day was my time to shine. I would whip up a hearty breakfast, curate a midday snack of wine, cheese, and fruits, and end the day with a steak dinner paired with a rich Cabernet. When the kids were younger, they'd eagerly help me in the kitchen, but as teenagers, they left most of the work to me. In contrast, Father's Day meant Emma taking over breakfast duties. A gesture I appreciated, even though I usually skipped the meal to keep my appetite in check for later. That year, I waited for her to wake up so she could make breakfast, something she didn't know I typically avoided in the mornings. She kissed me, wished me a happy Father's Day, and immediately went to prepare breakfast. We had lunch at a quirky 80s-themed diner, which turned out to be a fun way to spend the day. Emma was extremely organized, always keeping track of the calendar. From holidays to the kids' schedules, she rarely missed anything, except when I forgot something. The following year, while going over the calendar, she pointed out that my birthday happened to fall on Father's Day. I wasn't shocked, joking that I hoped I wasn't going to get shortchanged on presents. She laughed and promised something extra special. But things had already begun to unravel. The late nights at work, the secretive texts, the way she turned away from me in bed. It was all leading up to something I didn't want to believe. I couldn't help but wonder if this year's celebration would be different, more than the usual birthday and Father's Day routine that had developed between us over time. She had a habit of starting something during foreplay, but only finishing it on those two special days. However, as the weeks passed leading up to that year's Father's Day, I noticed a shift in her behavior. She started working late, snapping at the kids and me, and dressing up more often. She wore makeup, scarves, and low-cut tops to work, things she had never done before. Then, the Friday before my birthday, she put on a short skirt, stockings, and heels. When I asked where she was going, she told me she was heading out with some coworkers. It struck me as odd since we usually spent Friday nights together. I was surprised and asked if I had forgotten any plans, but she insisted it was a last-minute thing. Something felt off. The way she rushed out the door, more dressed up than usual, left me unsettled. I tried to shake off the feeling, but it lingered. She came home just before midnight, her hair pulled into a simple ponytail instead of the styled look she had earlier. She walked past me without saying a word and went straight upstairs. A few minutes later, I heard the shower running. I couldn't help but wonder what she had done that required a shower before bed. She didn't come back downstairs to say goodnight, and that's when I knew something wasn't right. The next morning, I left for work early, but there was no kiss goodbye, something that had never happened before. The uneasiness stayed with me, but I forced myself to focus on the day ahead. When I arrived at the store, Missy, the morning barista, was waiting by the entrance. She was a pretty redhead with striking blue eyes, and though I was happily married, I had noticed her before. "Hey, Bill," she greeted me with a warm smile. "Good morning, Missy," I replied. She must have sensed something was wrong because she asked if I was okay. I told her I had a lot on my mind. She offered me a coffee, which I gratefully accepted. As she prepped for the morning rush, I checked in with my team. Even though my managers were competent, I made it a point to visit every department, building strong relationships with my staff. My last stop was the coffee shop, where Missy had my usual black coffee ready. "Here you go, boss," she said, handing it to me. "Thanks, Missy," I said, leaving a $2 tip. She tried to refuse, but I insisted. "I can't risk a complaint," I joked, referring to how even the smallest issue could lead to a corporate call. She laughed it off, and I went back to work, trying to push the strange feelings about my wife out of my mind. The day was mostly uneventful, aside from an elderly woman being caught trying to steal cat and bird food. It was the kind of small distraction I needed to keep my thoughts from spiraling. Still, I couldn't shake the unease settling in my chest. When I got home, Katie and our daughters were getting ready to leave for a concert. It was a plan they had made weeks ago, but one I had completely forgotten about. My daughter gave me a kiss goodbye, but Katie didn't even acknowledge me. I still couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, and my mind kept replaying the events of the previous night. Later that evening, I decided to dig a little deeper. I checked her email, but found nothing suspicious. Since she had a cell phone, I couldn't check her messages or call logs. I even peeked into the laundry hamper, but it was Saturday. She had already done the laundry. I found nothing. Frustrated, I watched a movie, but the gnawing feeling remained. That night, I went to bed uneasy, my thoughts racing. The next morning, my birthday and Father's Day arrived. But instead of waking up to a celebration, I woke up with a sinking feeling in my gut, knowing that something in my marriage had changed, and not for the better. I went through my usual morning routine, coffee, toast, and some quiet time outside, enjoying the nice weather. When I went inside to refill my coffee, I was surprised to see my wife and daughters already up, packing lunch. "We're going to the beach," my daughter Lily said excitedly. I nodded and went upstairs to get dressed, assuming they meant all of us. But as I pulled on my shirt, I suddenly heard my younger daughter, Lily, yell, "Bye, Daddy," followed by the sound of the door slamming shut. I rushed to the window just in time to see them driving off. It hit me. They had remembered my birthday, but I never expected Emma to forget. Standing there in the living room, I felt a mix of confusion and disappointment. My phone rang, pulling me from my thoughts. It was my mom. "Happy birthday and Father's Day, Billy," she greeted me warmly. "Thanks, Mom," I replied. "Emma must have big plans for you today," she said. "No, she took the girls to the beach a while ago," I explained. "That's unusual. She doesn't usually do that on your birthday," Mom remarked. "I don't know. She's been acting strange lately," I confessed. "Don't worry, she's probably got something planned for later." "Love you, Billy," Mom reassured me. "Love you too, Mom," I said before hanging up. I was still trying to wrap my head around everything when my phone rang again. It was Anne, my assistant. "Bill, we have an issue at the shop," she said, her tone urgent. "What's going on?" I asked, already feeling anxious. "Missy was pushed on the stairs by a customer. She fell and might have broken her arm." "Is she okay?" I asked, concern rising in my chest. "They took her to the hospital for x-rays," Anne replied. "Damn, that's awful. Is everything covered on your shift?" I asked, trying to stay calm. "Yeah, we're all good here. Just didn't want to catch you off guard." "Thanks for the heads up," I said before hanging up. My mind was still reeling from everything that had happened that morning. Since I assumed my wife and kids wouldn't be back anytime soon, I decided to go out for breakfast alone. I headed to IHOP, but as soon as I walked in, I knew I had made a mistake. The place was packed with families celebrating Father's Day. It hit me harder than I expected, and I left almost immediately, opting for McDonald's instead. I ate my breakfast alone in the park, lost in thought. I thought about the lake I used to take my daughters to when they were younger. They had loved it back then, but as they grew up, I started feeling like a stranger to them. By 1 p.m., I still hadn't heard from Emma. I figured whatever dinner plans I had been hoping for were off. Trying to distract myself, I went to the Doctor Who cafe and posted a picture of my lunch online. As usual, I got a bunch of likes and Father's Day wishes. Then I noticed a comment from my mother-in-law. She assumed I was with my family at the beach, since Emma had posted a few pictures from there. I finished my sandwich and decided to head to a nearby sports bar to unwind with a beer. The place was packed, so I slipped next door into a cigar lounge, treating myself to an expensive $60 cigar. "Happy birthday to me," I muttered as I lit it. I sat at the bar, turned on the Sox game, and within minutes a couple of guys invited me to join their card game. "I'm Bill," I said, introducing myself. "I'm Lance, and this is my brother Jerry," the older man said. They finished their hand and dealt me in. "Help yourself to a drink, Bill," Lance offered, grabbing a cooler. I grabbed a Miller Lite. As I took a sip, Jerry glanced at me. "No kids today, or is the ex with someone new?" he asked casually. I felt a wave of discomfort, but answered honestly. "My wife and daughters are at the beach. They didn't even remember today." "That's rough," Lance said, shaking his head. "My boys are both in the military. My daughter's in California." "My grandson just turned 2, Jerry added. I'm visiting next week. Sounds nice, I replied, forcing a smile. When my girls were young, I used to take them to the lake. They loved it. They nodded, understanding. After a few minutes, the conversation shifted back to my situation. Do you think she really forgot? Jerry asked. Or is she just avoiding you? Jerry asked, and I explained the changes I had noticed in my wife recently. They exchanged looks before Lance spoke bluntly. She's cheating on you? The question hit me like a slap in the face. I tried to brush it off, but the idea started to fester. I didn't want to believe it, but it was hard to ignore. Lance leaned forward. Look, I've been there. The dressing up, the late nights out. My wife did the same thing, and when I found out, I divorced her. I frowned, not understanding. How is divorcing her a mistake? If she cheats, that's it. Lance sighed, his voice softer now. I was paying alimony for years. I was broke. I missed her every damn day. Eventually, we got back together, and we're happy now. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. If she's cheating, there's no way I could forgive that. I couldn't stay with someone who betrayed me like that. Lance shook his head. You don't get second chances at love when you're our age, Bill. If you still love her, you'll find a way to forgive. I was still processing it all as I excused myself. Thanks, Lance. I'll think about it, I said, though deep down, I couldn't imagine ever forgiving her. I shook their hands and left. When I got back to my phone, I saw more posts from Emma and the girls at the beach. My heart sank. Forget it, I told myself. Stop being a sufferer. It stung that my wife had forgotten my birthday and Father's Day, but more than that, I had a growing suspicion that she had been seeing someone else for weeks. I needed to focus on something else, so I decided to go to dinner at my favorite steakhouse. I knew there would be a wait, but I didn't care. I showered, put on a jacket, and went out to treat myself. When I arrived, I ordered a glass of champagne. The older man next to me eyed my drink before ordering a martini. The bartender refilled my glass, and the man asked, "Celebrating alone, or am I taking someone's place?" "No, I'm alone," I replied. He nodded. "My wife's helping my daughter. She broke her arm today." "You don't expect your grown kids to still get hurt." I chuckled. "Looks like I'm going solo for a while. My wife's caught up with other things." Then a little girl ran up to him, shouting, "Grandpa!" She jumped into his lap, hugging him tightly. A few moments later, I heard someone call my name. "Bill." I turned and saw Missy with a woman who looked a lot like her. I assumed it was her mother. "How's your arm, Missy?" I asked, trying to mask my discomfort. "It's fine," she said, smiling faintly. "The painkillers are helping, but it hurt like hell when they set the bone." Missy introduced me to her parents, Jack and Mary, and her little girl, Mia. "Where's your wife, Bill?" Missy asked innocently. "I'm not sure," I answered. "She took the girls to the beach this morning, and I haven't heard from them since." "Really? On Father's Day?" Missy said, surprised. "That's pretty rough." Mary looked shocked. "She blew you off on your day? What kind of person does that?" I shrugged, not wanting to go into the details. "Forget about her," Mary said dismissively. "You're with us now." I suddenly understood Jack's earlier comment about red rage. "I don't think I can," I admitted. "Come on, don't let it get to you," Jack said with a grin. "It's your day too." "But it's your day, Jack," I protested. "I don't want to crash your celebration." "Nonsense," he said. "This is our day too." "Grandpa!" Mia called, cutting our conversation short. "I know, Pumpkin," Jack said with a chuckle. Mia looked up at him. "I'll be in trouble later, Daddy." Jack winked at me as their buzzer went off. "Pay up, Bill, and meet us at the table." I slipped a $20 bill on the counter and followed them. "I'm sorry, Bill," Missy said as I sat down. "My parents can be a bit much." "No worries. It's better than being alone during dinner," I said with a small smile, letting myself enjoy the moment. We swapped stories about our kids, and Mia laughed at the funny anecdotes about her mom's childhood. As my phone buzzed, I glanced down and saw Emma's name on the screen. I let it ring, flipping the phone face down on the table. "Your wife?" Mary asked, noticing my reaction. "Yeah," I said quietly. "It's more than you think, isn't it?" Missy asked gently. I hesitated. "I think so," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper, "but I don't have any proof." "Everyone makes mistakes," Mary said, glancing at Jack. "Maybe you can forgive her." Missy shot her mother a look, but I didn't comment. Instead, I signaled the waiter to bring the check and paid for the meal. "Thanks for inviting me, Bill," Jack said, shaking my hand. "It was a pleasure," I said. "Happy Father's Day." When I left, I still didn't have the proof I needed, but I felt unsettled. 2 people had suggested I might be able to forgive Emma, but could I? I wasn't sure. When I got home, the girls ran up to me, their faces filled with guilt. "We're so sorry, Dad," Lily said. "We forgot it was Father's Day." "Don't worry about it," I said, hugging them both. "I didn't expect you to remember." Lily ran inside, and moments later, Emma appeared in the doorway. "It's your birthday today," she asked, her voice breaking. "We didn't know. I'm so sorry." She broke down in tears, pressing her face into my chest. "You must hate us." "No, sweetheart," I reassured her, holding her tightly. "I love you both." "Mom suggested the beach, and we didn't think—" She trailed off, her voice full of regret. "It's fine," I said. "Don't worry about it." I didn't mention the anger I felt toward their mother. That was something I would deal with later. "Let's go inside," I said softly. After changing into something comfortable, I came downstairs to find Emma sitting alone, crying. "I'm sorry," she whispered, but I didn't respond. I walked outside to the deck, cracked open a beer, and tried to focus on something other than her tears. Then I heard the sliding door open. "Bill, What's his name?" I interrupted, not looking at her. She stayed silent. "Bill, what's his name?" I repeated, my voice sharper this time. "The man you were with on Friday." The way she hesitated, the way she didn't deny it, that was all I needed to know. My anger surged. That was it. I knew I was going to need a divorce lawyer. Nearly 2 decades of marriage gone. I had been such a fool. My mind raced with questions. How long had this been going on? Was he the first? Did I even know him? Betrayal has a way of making everything spiral out of control. I made up my mind. I would request a paternity test for the girls during the divorce. It would give me some peace of mind and force Emma to face the consequences of her actions. The rest of the night was spent scouring divorce laws online. By the time I drifted to sleep, it was on the couch. That's how I spent my birthday. I woke early to find Emma still in bed, curled up around her pillow, looking peaceful. She looked beautiful, even though she wasn't mine anymore. I grabbed what I needed, showered quickly, and slipped out of the room without waking her. As I walked down the hallway, I saw Lily standing there, waiting for me. "How bad is it, Dad?" she asked, her face filled with concern. I let out a heavy sigh. "This is as bad as it gets." "Can you forgive her? It's just one day, right?" Lily pressed. I shook my head. "She didn't just forget my birthday or Father's Day," I said, my voice breaking. "She cheated on me." Lily's eyes widened in disbelief. "No, Daddy, she wouldn't do that." "She did. But I won't forgive it." She paused, then spoke slowly, as if trying to reason with me. "Think about it. The last few weeks she's been different. Friday, after getting a tan and doing her hair, she dressed up like she was going to a club. That wasn't for you." I nodded, my frustration growing. She barely spoke to me all weekend. Lily bit her lip, clearly struggling with the reality of it all. "What are you going to do?" I sighed, rubbing my temples. "I don't know yet, but I can't stay with someone who betrayed me." And for the first time, I saw the truth reflected in my daughter's eyes. She knew it too. She was clearly avoiding me. Lily seemed to soften, her voice quiet but insistent. When has she ever taken you to the beach without me? What if it wasn't an affair, just a mistake? Can't you find a way to forgive her? I shook my head. I don't think I can. Look at her actions. She hasn't treated me like she loves me for weeks. Lily hesitated before saying, "When Grandma asked why Mom didn't call Grandpa on Father's Day, she screamed, 'No!' So loud we thought he was having a heart attack." "Dad, he's fine," she added quickly. But Mom was sobbing. She kept saying she loved you over and over. Daniel even wanted to call an ambulance for her. I sighed. "I don't know what to say, Lily. You can't cheat and still claim to love someone. That's selfish, not love. She chose him over me." Lily hugged me tight, tears streaming down her face. "Please don't divorce her." "I need to go to work. We'll talk more later," I said, turning to leave. Lily walked into Daniel's room. "I'll tell her what we talked about, no more secrets." I couldn't help but wonder how long we'd still be a family. Emma had been too busy to reach out, so I kept my composure. The only thing out of the ordinary was filling out Missy's accident paperwork. She was going to be compensated for her vacation, and I hoped she wasn't too stressed. I didn't know much about her personal life, only that she wasn't married. Missy came by to sign the forms. Since she couldn't use her left hand, I filled them out for her. "How's everything at home?" she asked cautiously. "Not good," I replied. She didn't deny the affair when I confronted her. "Damn, Bill, I'm sorry," Missy said. "I know you probably don't want to hear this, but I get it. My ex cheated on me while I was pregnant. I kicked him out before our daughter was born. Your mom said she forgave Emma last night. It felt strange." "Yeah, I noticed. Makes me wonder if one of them was cheating too," Missy mused. "I'm sorry," I muttered. "You don't have to be," Missy replied. "They seem happy enough, so they're free to do what they want." "I don't trust liars," I said flatly. After work, Emma wasn't home. I assumed she was with her new guy, and it pissed me off. I drove to the grocery store where she worked and saw her car in the parking lot. To my surprise, she was sitting inside with a younger man. When she saw me, she yelled, "No!" and jumped out of the car, but I didn't stick around. If she wanted to cheat, let her. She could have him. I was done. I went home, packed a bag, and planned to stay at a hotel until I found a place of my own. But before I could leave, Daniel and Lily came running to me, crying and begging me to stay. "Sorry, girls, but your mom was about to cheat on me. I saw her with a guy in her car." "Dad, this has to be a mistake," Daniel said, desperation in her voice. "I saw what I saw. She was with a man after work. Why else would she be with him in the car?" "Please, Daddy, don't break up the family," Daniel sobbed. "Your mom did this, not me," I said, hugging them both tightly. "I love you both. I'll stay in touch every day." I kissed their foreheads and left them crying in the bedroom. As I walked to the garage, Emma sped out of the driveway so fast she nearly ran me off the road. I shook my head but kept driving. The following week was a nightmare. Emma bombarded me with calls every hour for 3 straight days. She must have taken vacation time because she wasn't calling from work. Her voicemails were desperate, but I deleted them all. After a few days, my mother, mother-in-law, both daughters, and Emma's sister all begged me to talk to her. They kept telling me it wasn't as bad as I thought, but when I asked them directly, did she cheat, they all went silent. They all knew, but none of them would admit it. That was all I needed to hear. I stopped answering calls altogether. I told the girls I'd always talked to them, but not about their mother. They didn't believe me until I hung up on them twice. By the end of the week, I had met with a lawyer. I wanted a 50/50 split of the house, with Emma staying there until the girls moved out and then selling it. My lawyer said I could get more, but I didn't care. The best part, I wouldn't have to pay her alimony. She made enough to support herself, and I wasn't about to fund her relationship with her lover. The problem was, I didn't have concrete proof of the affair. Without that, the judge might classify it as irreconcilable differences. Still, my lawyer had the divorce papers ready, and I felt a sense of relief. No forced mediation, no long battle, just a fair split. Emma fought back as soon as she received the papers, claiming she had only slept with one man the Friday before my birthday. Her family turned on me again, saying I was the bad guy for not letting her explain, as if any explanation would make it okay. My mother called me weak for not fighting for my marriage. My mother-in-law accused me of breaking my vows, too. My daughters begged me to stay, insisting that the divorce would scar them. It was unreal. I hadn't done anything wrong, yet somehow, I was the one being blamed. Out of frustration, I told my daughters I was ordering DNA tests, making it seem like a court order. I needed them to understand how deep this betrayal had cut. Soon after, Emma sent me a letter admitting to the affair but trying to downplay it. She claimed it had only happened once, with a 21-year-old who was, in her words, worthless. She also insisted she had told him never to contact her again after I caught them. It didn't matter. She had cheated, and that was enough. The best part, her letter gave me the proof I needed. I no longer had to argue about infidelity in court. Despite her resistance, the judge approved the divorce within 60 days. And just like that, I was free. But somehow, I was still labeled the bad guy. My family stopped speaking to me, but I stood firm. I called my daughters every day, leaving voicemails, but they never picked up. I refused to let them blame me for the silence. On Sundays, I started meeting Missy for coffee. At first, it was just a coincidence we ran into each other at a local cafe while she was with Mia. I invited them to join me, and we spent the morning talking, while Mia played on my iPad. Missy tried to reassure me that my daughters would eventually come around, even though I feared Emma's influence over them might be stronger than I hoped. The following Sunday, I saw them again. Missy teased me, asking if I was stalking her. I laughed and told her I just appreciated the quiet mornings. It wasn't intentional, but we ended up meeting weekly. Her company was easy to enjoy, and Mia's energy was a welcome distraction from the weight of my divorce. The day my divorce was finalized, I went back to the house where I had spent almost 2 decades with Emma. She answered the door, her face blotchy from crying. Without saying a word, she gestured for me to come inside. "Are the girls home?" I asked. "They're at the school play," Emma replied, her voice breaking slightly. "I know why you're here." "Really?" I shot back, a bitter smirk crossing my face. "You waited until it was too late to stop this, didn't you?" She swallowed hard. "I knew you'd try to get me back, but I couldn't let that happen," I said coldly. "You broke my heart." "Bill, it was just one mistake. Why can't you forgive me? Didn't you love me like you used to?" she cried, tears streaming down her face. I laughed darkly. "Did you love me when you were flirting with him? Did you love me when you ignored me on my birthday? If that's love, then I don't know what to say." She sobbed, her shoulders shaking. "I never wanted any of this. I never wanted a wife who cheated," I snapped. "But here we are." She gasped. Before she could say anything else, I spoke. "Not only did you break my heart, but you turned my family against me. I will never forgive you for that." "It's your fault for overreacting," she shot back defensively. I could feel my anger flare again. "If you don't get my family to apologize to me, I'll tell every man you date what you did. I'll make sure no one ever trusts you again." "You can't blame me for this," she said, almost pleading. "Oh, really? Did I cheat on you?" I retorted. "You've taught our daughters that cheating is fine. They'll grow up thinking it's acceptable, and I'll be the villain. Well, I'm done. I'm not going to keep playing the fool while you chase some guy's attention." I pulled my hand out of hers. "Rot in hell," I spat, turning and walking out as she cried behind me. Please like and subscribe to the channel to know where this marriage will go next, and whether the small family can return to the way it was in the beginning.